In order to be a successful real estate investor, you need access to good quality investment opportunities. In this upcoming video, which was taken from a live broadcast, we are going to outline a sophisticated off-market marketing campaign for you. By implementation of these strategies you're about to learn, you will get the best of the best, the top of the top, the cream of the crop investment opportunities will start coming your way. Let's go.
So I threw a few of them down. You guys you nailed all of them. MLS Realtor, wholesalers, buying lists. I like the active marketing that lots of the group is doing. This partner, I know you do a lot of that, Russell, and off market. So for me, off market is by far and away my favorite. That's where I've found all of my best deals. And that's what we're going to be focusing on here, is going off market and trying to go deep. So my best piece of advice that I can possibly give anyone for looking to secure off-market deals is becoming an area expert. So you need to know your areas inside and out. So I'm talking like walk, bike, drive the streets, the alleys, talk to the neighbors, go to the garage sales, like buy lemonade at the lemonade stands, anything to be present in that area. And Rosalie and I have done this for years, and we really enjoy it. And some of our best deals have come from this. So the one story I always like to share is in the Saskatoon neighborhood of North Park. On one street, we own quite a few houses. And we were working at one of our properties, and I saw like out the window these community living trucks, like just one after another all afternoon going by. And so we stopped for a little lunch break. And then on the lawn, I saw like a pile of stuff. There was like a chair and a chainsaw and just a handwritten for sale sign out front. And so I was working with my dad and I was like, man, I got to go check out this chainsaw. And he's kind of like, well, what do you want a chainsaw for? And I was like, I don't care about the chainsaw. I got to go talk to those people and see if they're selling that house. And sure enough, they were cleaning out the house, getting it ready for sale. And we went in, looked through the house right there on the spot, started negotiating, and we had bought that property before they'd even finished cleaning out the house. So that's the power of being like that area expert. You just can't replace it. So if you're starting out, you will probably need to be the area expert. Now, you can delegate this, right? Russell, I know you work with a business partner or you can train someone up, but someone has to be an area expert.
Yeah. I 100% delegate this to a business partner who's also a realtor who does all this groundwork on my behalf. And I stick in my lane. My lane is to find capital. My lane is to raise money from other people. My lane is to bring investors in. And his job is to go find properties.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Rosalie and I, we still elect to do this because honestly, we enjoy it. It's part of our like relationship building. You put the cell phones away, you go for a walk. Get some time outside. And honestly, you mentioned Riley. The night we went to the hospital for Riley to be born, we were out scouting apartments. So we were out walking around. We were going to go out for dinner and Rosalie's like, I don't think we should. I think something's up. And so, yeah, we still do it to this day.
Oh,
so,
I just love these romantic stories.
I'm a heartless romantic. Not heartless. What is that? Hopeless romantic.
These real estate investors with all their romantic stories of look hand in hand down the street, looking at properties. Yes.
Yeah, that's our date night. We still do that. So eventually, you do this long enough, people are going to start calling you. So we still get phone calls from neighbors in the areas that we target, and they'll call us and they'll say, hey, my neighbor's thinking of selling, just wanted to let you know. And that comes with time. So now that we're active in an area, we've identified our market, we've identified our sub-market, let's just shift our thinking here a little bit and think apartment owner. So I know I'm focusing on apartments because that's our case study. This could be a single family home. It really doesn't matter. We want to think, why would someone want to sell an apartment, right? And same if you can throw some in the chat box if you got some of your ideas. For me, the things that jump to mind for me in the apartment world is they want to retire. They're sick of self-managing. Maybe it's poor performance, right? The Saskatoon market, we've been declining for the last 5 years. And we have vendors that are watching that performance and they're honestly starting to get scared, right? They didn't sign up for this ride on the way down. They just want out. Maybe they've let deferred maintenance pile up. And then the other one, which is sort of intangible, just the timeline of life, right? Everyone's at a different phase. Sometimes it's just time for them to move on. So we're looking for motivation. I know that's nothing new, but we're just setting the framework. So let's dive in here. So the free framework, step number one is we have to find the deals. So we know what area we're looking for. We know why people might be selling. And now it's time to go fishing. So this is the fishing trip I alluded to. I personally like to think of this as two potential fishing strategies that we can deploy. Number one, we can go spear fishing, right? So we identify one individual fish or property and specifically target it. Or number two is we can go fishing with a net, right? So just cast that net out, see what we get back. So for me, I like to do both of those. I'm constantly fishing with a net, but I carry my spear around. So if an opportunity presents itself, I can go after it. So let's dive in to the spear fishing. So we've already identified why people may sell. Now there's three key ways that I go find them. And I know I saw them pop up in some of the chat boxes when we were chatting earlier. So in person, remember, we're an area expert. We're walking, we're biking these areas. What kind of things are we looking for, right? Any sort of poorly kept building, deferred maintenance piling up, signs of self-management, right? No professional markings to be seen. Maybe it's a handwritten for rent sign stuck up in the window. Some dude is mowing the lawn with no shirt on. And like I say that kind of joking, but I'm serious, right? We're trying to get a sense of, is this building running optimally? Is it being treated professionally? Is it being ran like a business or not, right? And if you see someone there that's not taking their business seriously, it's probably not performing that well. And don't be shy. Go talk to them. Go talk to the guy mowing the lawn and try and get the story. Online, this is what I saw like in the chat box, some great ones in there. So quick question for everyone. Who here is growing their real estate portfolio so that they can spend more time managing their properties? Is anyone on this call looking to spend more time managing properties? Eventually, everyone gets tired of it. And ask me how I know. We self-managed for years. We're finally almost out of it. And I am so sick of managing properties.
That was the hardest thing that I had in part of the coaching, Mike, was for you to let go of that. It was
hard. Yeah. And now, oh man, why didn't I do it sooner? I don't know why.
Since then, have you tripled your portfolio?
Probably. I think, we at least doubled last year. And we literally would not be able to have the portfolio we have now if we still self-managed. Like it would be impossible for sure.
And now you're doing it full time too, right? So,
yeah.
So arguably you potentially have more time, but that was one of the hardest things you were to let go of, was to let go of the management.
Yeah, I know. So glad I did though.
Yep.
So everyone gets sick of it. You guys mentioned Kijiji. Scroll Kijiji. You're looking for those for rent by owners and go deep into Kijiji, right? Like get onto page 5, 6, 7. Like go down. People that are not updating their ads. They've got no professionalism to them. It's going to be obvious. You'll be able to tell the ads very quickly because those people are not going to be getting phone calls, going to get frustrated, right? Like this deal here, the Hopkins deal, Frank self-managed, and he was just done. It was his time to move on. And then professionals. So quick word on professionals. Are all property management companies created equally? So my tip here for everyone is find out who is the worst property manager in your market and market to those building owners. And again,
guys, time out for a second. What Mike is sharing with you here is an absolute gold tip. Now, you're not throwing any company under the bus here whatsoever, but here's what I would just suggest you do is what Mike said was the worst property manager. Those are the ones that you target. And
why don't you ask me how I know that?
And you knew that because you worked with them, didn't you, at first?
Oh, man. So remember the start of the presentation, the apartment building that just fell in our lap. And I mean, it was a great deal. Don't regret it for 1 second. But it came with a property management company attached. I mean, we could have got rid of them off the start, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So my first apartment. So we thought, we'll keep the property management company in place. Basically everything could go wrong, right? So we found the worst property manager right off the hop, and it was so frustrating. We eventually moved on, We had to fire them basically and bring in new management. And it was through with coaching with Russell where we had the idea, wait a minute, if I'm this frustrated with how this property management company is treating me, like I'm not special. This is exactly how they're treating everyone else, every one of their clients.
Not only that, you're local and they were treating you this way.
Yeah.
Just imagine if somebody was living in California or White Rock, British Columbia, or somewhere else. Just imagine how the treatment they're getting.
Absolutely. And then the best part about this is you don't even have to look that hard, right? You go to their website, they have all of their properties on one page for you, right? You don't even have to hunt. You just go to one web page and now you got a list of 25 properties to market to. And you know every one of those owners is frustrated. So write that one down. That one's a good tip for in your market.
Guys, that'll be worth your time for tonight, just in even just that one tip alone.
Okay, so that was a little bit about spear fishing. So now it's time to bring out the net. So this is more of the system. This definitely takes some time to build, but once you have it, very, very powerful. So everyone in here's probably heard of like a yellow letter campaign or a direct mailer campaign. In the apartment world, it's a little bit different because the owner doesn't live in the property, right? With an owner-occupied house, you can just go knock on the door and drop off a letter. But in the apartment world, we need to find the gatekeeper, and they probably don't want to be found, right? Remember, most people do this because they want to be passive investors. So for me in Saskatoon, another frustration is trying to get a hold of these apartment owners in the winter. Like they're snowbirds, they're gone. You can't get a hold of them. So that's another tip for me that we're on the right path here, because look how well it's working out for them, that they can be gone all winter, but it's very frustrating when you're trying to get their attention. So step number one in this system is to collect some addresses. So I'm going to have a brief nerd moment here. I'm a big X-Men fan. So when I was thinking about this and trying to decide how am I going to get this system off the ground, the first hurdle you have is you don't even know how many apartment buildings are in your market. So I kind of pictured myself like I was like Professor Xavier in X-Men, and he can put on his helmet and he goes into Cerebro. And if he just concentrates, he can focus on all the mutants and they just pop out above the crowd. So I don't know if anyone's an X-Men fan, but I am. You can probably picture it if you are.
Are you looking at me when you're saying all this, Mike?
Yes, maybe.
No, okay,
No judgment. So that's what first thing we need to do is we got to get all these apartment buildings sorted from the crowd. Now, this is a low value task. It takes a lot of work. So I just hired it out, and I literally hired someone to drive and walk every single street in Saskatoon and find every single apartment building, right? Just collect the physical address, write it down for me, and get me that address.
Now, who did you use and what did you pay for that, Mike?
We used our house cleaner, and I think we paid $15 an hour. I honestly can't remember, somewhere around there. Like I'm sure I could have found cheaper, but we were happy to pay that for that service.
So she was working for you already, potentially cleaning some of the properties and things like that, and you just added hours to. She was probably happy to do it.
Oh yeah, she was thrilled to do it, and I was like, you can do it whenever you want, like your timeline. I'll give you like 5 neighborhoods and you have a week or 2 to get those done. Then we'll do another 5 neighborhoods whenever you want. And she was thrilled.
Yeah. I remember when we designed this whole campaign for you and really you just, did she have like a clipboard and just wrote down handwritten addresses, or did she type them, or what was the process?
For me, we just used a clipboard.
Yep.
In the future, I would go more tech. Like if you could give them like an iPad and drop it right into a Google Drive file, that would have saved me some work in hindsight, but we just did clipboard.
Yep. Nice.
Yep. So now that you got the addresses, you have to convert that into some useful data. Okay. So we have an address, but we need an owner. So here in Saskatoon, what I can do with a physical address is I can just go online to the city website and convert that address into a legal address, right? So the lot, block, parcel number, that's what I'm looking for. All online, it's all free. And I also outsourced this step. So I just used an overseas virtual assistant, sent them the physical addresses, I did a big step-by-step document, like with screenshots, exactly how to find this data. And then they went and mined the data for me and sent it back.
And so you got back a spreadsheet with apartment address and legal address, and then also owner.
We haven't found the owner yet.
Okay,
so we have the physical address, and now we have the legal address as the city describes it, right? Like lot, block, parcel.
Nice.
So then we go a step further. Now we need to try and get to the title of that building to try to find the owner, right? Finding the owner is our goal. So I pull the title information with that legal data, and this will tell me the owner. Now, I'm sure every province is different. Here in Saskatchewan, I don't actually have to pull the title because you have to pay for that. I can just pull up the screenshot and that tells me the owner, and that's all I needed. So I just pulled that and got that information. Now, the catch is in the apartment world, when you see that owner, most of the time it's a corporation, right? So in this stage of the fishing trip, like we're getting close, there's sort of fish popping up on the fish finder, but we can't stop here because knowing the corporation is still not enough, right? We need to find like the gatekeeper. And so people sell for emotional reasons. So we need to find a human. We need a human because they are emotional. So sending a letter to the PO box of the lawyer of some corporation is not going to get us an emotional response. So this is where I think most people stop here from what I've heard, keep going. So then I added even more steps and I started pulling the shareholder like registry of the corporation, right? Because I want humans. I want to find the people. So then I would go and pull a full profile report on that company. And it's crazy. You can get all of this online.
It's all public domain documents.
Yeah. Like for this step, I had to pay $6 to actually get that information from ISC. But then it would spit out all of the shareholders of that company. Sometimes you'd have to spend another $6 because sometimes corporations are owned by corporations. So if that happens, I just go another layer deeper, right? I do not stop until I have a person's name that I can contact. Then, so I know we're going long here, but the point is you got to get down to that person. So once I find the shareholders, you're going to find there's all sorts of class of shareholders. I want everyone that has voting rights, anyone that has voting rights to that company, because that means they have a seat at the table. They have a vote with what that company is going to do. So I don't just contact one person and think I'm done, right? Never assume anything, right? One person doesn't speak for the whole group. Every individual is at a different place in their life. They have different motivations. They may not be on the same page. So my theory was, even if they have the same last name, right? They may not be on the same page, even if they have the same last name. So I go out and reach out to all of them. And with that, I'm hoping to just get them talking, right? If there's 4 different shareholders, they all get letters, they're going to call each other. And that conversation is going to start. Hey, should we sell that building? You know, I've been thinking about it. Now maybe I will. And so I can't stress this enough, guys. If you're going to implement a system like this, take it all the way across the finish line. Don't put in just the first 4 steps and stop because you're missing a lot of the value.
Yeah. And then there's also another step because the gold is actually in the follow-up as well as what Mike's going to share with you next here. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is step 1. Like this is just very initial contact. Now, if you can get a phone number, that's always my favorite gold standard. Pick up the phone, call them. Most of the time with this strategy, I'm just getting a physical address, but it's a home address of the shareholder, and I will initiate then a letter campaign.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. Now, if you need to take a drink, Mike, take a drink. I got a real quick, fun story to share with you of a fellow who I know in Edmonton who he has a fairly similar system. But what he does is he has his target properties and he has phone numbers of these people. And what he does is in his calendar, every year he calls them once a year minimum to find out if they still want to sell. And he shared a story with the longest from first contact to eventually selling was 12 years. So for 12 years straight, he called this one owner of this one property, and after 12 years, the person finally sold it to them.
I remember when you told me that story for the first time, and
Yes.
That's amazing. Like, that's just amazing.
Like, do you have the follow-up to do that after 12 years of keep doing that? And honest to goodness, it was like he got to know the person. It was like Daddy. It was like Ukrainian, a good Ukrainian owner, and that he was talking to him, and he goes, yes. He goes, do you want to sell? He goes, Teddy, I don't want to sell. And Terry goes, well, I'll call you next year.
Yeah.
And then a year later, call him again.
Yeah. And I'll kind of like add to that. This is my thoughts around this. It's really deciding what you want, right? If your goal is to buy one apartment building and that's it, and you're happy with that, which is totally fine, you probably don't need to build this big elaborate system. For me, we have some big goals, and I'm playing the infinite game. So I'm fine to reach out to a vendor for 12 consecutive years because I'm still going to be playing the game in 12 years. So a little kind of word on my outreach campaign. This is just how I do it. You're going to get many different opinions and examples. So in the single family world, a lot of time people will talk about doing sort of that handwritten scribbled letter just on a notepad, sort of stuffed into their door, personalized just to them. The multifamily world is a bit different because you're dealing with like higher value property. It's a more professional game. So how I approach it is kind of these 4 P's of outreach. Number one is I have to provide value to them, right? I have to solve some of their problems. I'm always polite. I try to be very professional. So my outreach has my letterhead. I actually put Dr. Mike Bugg, which I've never signed my name doctor, but on this I do, because I want that credibility. And then persistent follow-up, which we just talked about, is most people drop the ball there. They send one letter one time and then they give up.
Oh, Mike, and 4 words all starting with the letter P? Nice.
So that I have to give full credit to Rosalie on.
Nice.
I just did like the content. She made everything pretty and nice. So that is 100% Rosalie. So a little word on solving their problems. So I always want to provide value. And so it goes back to thinking, why are they going to sell? What are some of the problems they're encountering? So in my letter, I try to touch on all of these, right? So I'll mention that this can help them save commission, or that we can close quickly, that I have the team in place that can handle any size of renovation project. And so in this case study with Frank, this is exactly what got him to call me. So he had multiple units completely ripped apart, right? Like the bathrooms completely gutted. And he found himself in a situation where he was just overwhelmed by the renovation. So when he gets my letter that says, hey, no worries, my team can handle it, it was relief for him, right? I just solved his problem, and that's why he called me. And then again, with the professionalism, they want to know you're serious, right? And that they know that you know what you're talking about. So a quick funny story here, because there's always challenges with this. It doesn't go off without a hiccup. So I told you how I had outsourced all of this and hired everything out. And then one day I get a pretty nasty voicemail. And it went something along the lines of, oh, hello there, Dr. Bugg. Are you even a doctor? Because I can't imagine anyone could pass their exams if they can't tell the difference between a house and an apartment. And he's like, you just sent me a letter asking to buy my apartment when I clearly live in a house. And then he went on and on, like it was a many minute long voicemail where this guy was just ripping me apart. So he's clearly having a bad day. And, don't get discouraged. For me, I had 2 big takeaways there. Number one, my next batch of letters went out. So I was like, sweet, they went out. And number 2, I was like, okay, well, there's a hiccup in the system because these shouldn't be going to houses. So I had to go trace that particular address back, and then found out that the problem was just with the physical address collection, it was a cross street. And so the lady had grabbed the wrong cross street. So instead of going to that apartment over there, it went to that house over there. And those things are going to happen. Don't let it discourage you. You got to stay patient, and trust the process.
Well, I would also say it would give me validation that my marketing worked. That here you go, you've got somebody who it doesn't even apply to pick up a telephone to to call you to tell you how wrong you were, which is actually a good letter. And did you have some help writing that letter, Mike?
Yeah, I had a good coach, that really helped me build this process.
I sure hope you enjoyed this in-depth training video. This is just one small clip of the many hundreds of hours available on this YouTube channel. If you are interested in continuing your journey to become a successful real estate investor, there's only 2 steps to follow from here. Where you're watching this, below is an opportunity for you to subscribe. And if you click on over here, if you want to continue your journey, there's another hand-selected video just for you to continue you on your journey towards success. Thank you very much.